Hello. Well, let's get started. I'm Don Martin, and I'm going to be your presenter and host tonight. I'm a certified financial planner with over 30 years of experience. I've been helping families solve their financial issues and get the most out of their resources so they can live a great life. I work with such companies such as Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Merrill Lynch, little small time companies. And what drives me professionally are the stories that I hear from people who, towards the later part of their lives, they've looked back on how they've lived and they have regrets, unfortunately. And they say things like, I wish I wouldn't have worked so much. I wish that I would have spent more time with my family. I wish that I would have done more things for my health and wellness, serve the community, things like that. And to me, to have that kind of regret, that's a tragedy. And so my purpose professionally then is to help people before it's too late, to be able to look at what they're doing, make the changes in life that are going to serve them, and then be able to look back on their lives one day and say, wow, I really did it. I did it my way, and I feel complete. Or people that are currently doing that right now. And I just love being a part of that. Okay, so let's talk about goals. That's what we're here for. So tell me if this has ever happened to you. You identify your goals, you create an action plan to be able to fulfill your goals, and you run the action plan. And it works great for maybe a week or 2 weeks, maybe. And then all of a sudden, life happens. Emergencies come out of nowhere. Things come from left field, they drop in your lap. You have fires to put out, all these distractions, and before you know it, you're swept completely off track. You've lost all sight of your goals. And what happens next? You just go back to doing things the way that you always did. Well, if that sounds familiar to you, don't feel bad because I've felt that way before, and I don't know a person alive that hasn't felt that way. So tonight, I'm going to share with you a strategy that is going to help you to be resilient around your goals and your actions, so much so that when the distractions come, and it's not an if, it's a when, that you're going to be able to withstand that and be able to sustain and be able to follow through step by step all the way towards fulfillment of your goals. Sound good? All right. Well, let's get started. Here I've got to advance. Okay, so here's what to expect. So first, we're going to talk about the good part and the bad part about goals. Nothing's perfect. And then also make sure that you're aware that you don't have to be anybody different than who you already are. You already have what it takes to be successful and resilient. And then finally, I'm going to show you a strategy that will render you invincible. So you'll be like masters of the universe and all distractions will just like bounce off of your gold armbands. All right, good. So that's what we have ahead. Okay, so we already know that simply having goals and action plans are not enough. So, and even Mike Tyson was aware of that. He said, everybody's got a game plan until they get punched in the nose. So that's because life happens. And when we say life happens, we're talking about things that happen upon us from the outside. These are circumstances. Now, at the same time, it isn't always outside forces that give us trouble with our goals. Believe it or not, we actually sabotage our own goals, our own financial plans. And this is how we do it. I've got 3 ways to share with you that we sabotage our plans. So first, your mind doesn't like change, and it's going to let you know, especially changes that you take on for the better. So I'll give you an example. In fact, it's perfect because we're in January right now. So, so picture this. Okay, it's January, and you want to join a gym, just like everybody else in the country, and the gym industry is aware of this. So you join the gym, and it's your first day to go to the gym. and you're just getting ready to put your gym clothes on, and your brain says, hey, wait a minute, you really don't want to go to the gym today. It's too cold outside, and your gym shoes are really ugly. And you go there and the gym rats are just going to look down their nose at you and judge you. You have so many important things to do here at home with the heaters working. So you could do things like read the news, or you could shop online for new gym shoes, or you could, oh, this is important, you have Facebook likes that you're falling behind on. You need to take care of that right now. Okay, so that's the brain talking. The struggle is real. And so the brain basically will lie to us just to be able to keep us from making change. So what do we do? Well, first of all, just having awareness of that is the first step. Having awareness of it and being able to call out your brain, your mind, when it's telling you those kind of things, and say, hey, look, appreciate the advice, but I'm not going for it. I need to do things that are good for me. And you can even work that into an action plan to be able to continue on knowing that your brain is going to give you pushback. Okay, so that's one way that we sabotage. Another way is that we create our own limitations that really aren't there, that really don't exist. However, it's very real to us. So for example, many people act as if goal setting is a zero-sum game. So whatever we do, whatever we contribute towards our future comfort in our lifestyle will mean that we have to take an equal bite out of our present comfort. So how does that show up? Well, I hear people say, oh my gosh, I want to save for my retirement so badly. I've got to hunker down. I've got to scrimp and save. I've got to eat hot dogs and beans. I don't know. But the idea is, there's pain. They feel like they have to go through pain for 10, 20 years until they retire. And then at that time, they can retire and then start being happy. So first of all, that's all not true. They're making assumptions that are just not true. And, it's leading them to doing things that are just very unnecessary. So this is what I've experienced. It is very, very doable. The truth is it's very doable for you to have a wonderful future lifestyle and at the same time have a very rewarding current lifestyle. Very possible. In fact, that's what I'm going to show you tonight. So get ready. All right. So finally, last way that we sabotage our goals. We have a misunderstanding about what goals are really for. Okay, so I'm going to tell you something you may not have heard before, and it might make you mad. Okay, so I'm going to apologize in advance. Are you ready? Okay. The purpose of goals is not to ultimately achieve your goals. Okay, don't shoot the messenger. It's just that's a fact. And just think about it. When we make goals that are 10 years out, 20 years out, how could we possibly know what our life is going to be like at that time? I mean, we make our best guess now, but there's no way. I mean, in fact, our best guess will be nowhere near what the reality is. Think about it. Think about what your life was like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and picture what you thought you would be like now at that time. You had no idea. So why should the future be any different? Now, the funny thing is that in financial planning software, it gives one it's almost like an implication that it can predict the future. What do you do with that? You know those software programs where you make this statistical projection. So you have to plug in variables. You're putting in your current assets, how much money you're going to contribute to it. You make an assumption about return on the stock market, inflation, and then things like that. And then at the back end, it says, okay, 20 years, you will have this much money, this much spending. It'll be sustainable the rest of your life. It's just, it's impossible to say something like that. So it's misleading. So it's very important to understand the limitations of what this financial planning software will do for you. Now, okay, so you might be asking yourself, well, geez, what's the point of having goals if we're not gonna one day achieve them? Here's what goals are good for, and it's really important. In fact, this principle is something that we're going to come back to later in the talk. So listen up. This is what goals are for. Goals are for getting information about what step to take right now, the strategies that we run. And we make mistakes about running strategies before having goals. We take wonderful financial strategies like living trusts, like tax planning, investment portfolios, without having a target. I see it happen all the time. And even though they may be wonderful strategies on their own, if there's no target to aim them at, then it really is random. So it could be, I don't know, a hit, a miss, partial hit. And that's not right, because this is your life that we're talking about. So we need a real target to be able to aim things at and increase the likelihood that we have a direct hit. That's what goals are for. Okay, so we talked about some of the bad things about goals. So now it's time to give you a good thing. Were you aware that your goals are like a GPS for your life? Think about it. So you think of that GPS that's on your cell phone or in your car. And so you put in your destination. You're probably used to it. You don't even think about it now. You put in your destination, and then in seconds, you have this clear path of how to be able to get to your destination, all the roads, the freeways, whatever. It even gives you a prediction of how long it'll take you. All right. So same thing with having goals. You say what you want, and then you devise your strategies. You build your strategies around it. So now or you have the best idea about what you need now to be able to achieve the goal. Okay. So secondly, it tracks your progress. Very, very important, because hey, especially when you're on a long trip, you want to feel good about this instrument that you're relying on, this GPS. So if it has served you well at the halfway point, you can feel pretty good that it's going to continue to serve you well. And the same principle applies when it comes to your goals, and specifically your financial plan. So it's important to have regular intervals that you take stock of what you have, and you look around, you say, what are the changes going on? So do we need to make changes based on what's happening, changes in the environment, the economy, the markets, or are there changes going on in our lives? We got married, we had a kid, our kid's going to college, we have a family member that got sick, and we want to help them. All of those new variables have to feed into changing or updating your financial plan. And so just like when you track your progress, it's important you have those intervals and those check-ins, and they're regular. Okay. So on the subject of making changes, this is the most important piece of the GPS, adjusting to changing conditions. That's actually one of the newer features of the GPS. I think it's come out over the last 5 years, but it's huge. So I'll give you an example. I'm sure you're very familiar with this scenario. So you're driving down Thousand Oaks Boulevard, and your GPS tells you there's an accident ahead. So, and apparently it's a Ben & Jerry's truck that has toppled over on its side, and there's cartons of ice cream covering all the lanes. So what do? Do you throw your hands up in frustration and say, oh my gosh, this dashes my plan on the rocks, I'm going home, forget this? No, you don't have to do that. Or you get out of your car, you go to the back trunk, you get your canvas grocery bag, and you run up to the accident and you start helping yourself. Maybe, but better yet, You look at your GPS, and your GPS is telling you, it's redirecting you, it's telling you a new path, given all this updated information. And that speaks to what I was just talking about with your financial plan. We need to be able to update and renew your plan based on all the, the different changes. There are accidents that happen in our lives that need to be accommodated. Okay, so now that, let's see, oh yeah, and very, very important too, is that when you're on a journey, the longer the journey, the more chances there are for unexpected events to happen, obviously. So that's even more importantly why you need to have these periodic interval of check-ins and adjustments to be made. Okay, all right, so, okay, my goals, you get this, so Don, so my goals are like a GPS, I get that. But how does my GPS know what are the best actions for me to take? I'm not getting any signals like that. All right, well, I'm going to show you. Okay, so I'm going to share with you a little brain science. But before I do that, I want to ask you, have you ever had a day where you went to the office, same as you always have, and soon as you begin work, you start tapping on your computer, the phone rings. Person wants you to do something. And then you take care of that. And then the emails start coming in. Every time the emails come in, there's a ding alert. And then there's ding alerts on your phone. You have text messages coming in that need to be answered right away. And then you have people come in your office and they either need your help with something or they just want to sit down and chat. And before you know it, the day is completely over. And you look back on what you accomplished that day and you see that it's absolutely nothing. Has that ever happened to you? Or it's happened to all of us. So the question is, okay, so we have a GPS in our bodies that comes from having a goal. What is it that helps us to choose what's the best thing to do and to be able to deflect all those interruptions? Well, it's this. It's a part of our brain, and it's on the brainstem, and it's a neural network, and it's a fancy name. It's the Reticular Activation System, or RAS. Okay, so there's a lot to say about the RAS, but just suffice to say that when you identify a goal, your RAS kicks in, and it acts like a heat-seeking missile to find what pieces of data that it collects, and it collects a huge amount of data. So it takes all the data that it's captured and finds the pieces of information that are going to be relevant to the goals that you set. So that's how it works. Now, you might be thinking, well, Don, that kind of sounds like hocus pocus. But did you know that you've been using your RAS already? And I'll give you an example. Have you ever been, here's an example, shopping for a car, and you do the research and you see that, oh, I think I want to have a red Subaru for many reasons, but one reason is because it's unique. You don't see very many on the road, and that's important to you. So you buy the red Subaru, and the first day you're out on the road doing errands, you start noticing all these red Subarus on the road. You ever done this? And you're thinking, where do they come from? Is there a red Subaru convention? Is there a car rally going on I wasn't aware of? No, they've always been there. However, your brain can only take in about 8 to 20 pieces of information on your conscious level at any given time. So that means that there's a lot of blind spots out there. So all of these red Subarus have been in your blind spot until you put it on your target. And then your RAS went right to work and spotted them. Boom, boom, boom. No more unique car. Okay. Now, what's nice about the RAS is that the more that you work with it, the more that you set targets and goals, and the more you can actually ask it questions. What do I need to do? And it'll come back and guide you. All right. So the more that you work with your RIS, it'll collaborate with you. And so it's actually a great tool to have if you know how to use it. So that's why we're having this conversation. All right. Let's see. So now you know how the RIS works. So how can you best use your RIS to your advantage? Okay. If your goals have failed you, maybe it's because they're too safe. So they aren't exciting enough. Now, I'm not saying that safe goals are wrong. What I am saying is that if all you have are safe goals, easy to accomplish goals, then you're going to be more vulnerable to these distractions as they pop up. Why is that? Because safe goals are easy. You don't have to take any action that's any different than what you're already doing. And they may even accomplish themselves even if you don't do anything any different. You don't try any harder. Okay? So the problem there is that you are not engaged. And what's important then is that, well, put it this way, it's kind of like you're out there, you've been driving your red Subaru around town for a long time now. And at the same time, you have in your garage a $300,000 Bentley convertible that is just sitting there. Now, either you're not aware that you have it, or you're aware that you have it and you're just afraid to take it out. It might get damaged. Okay, so either way, I'm going to help you to, let's take this out for a spin. What do you think? Let's do this. All right, so we're going to take your RAS and activate it. So RAS, what is your heat-seeking missile, right? We're going to activate it so that it will inspire you to take action as if you're going to reach not only your safe goals, but beyond that, much beyond that. In fact, it's going to inspire you to achieve 10 times your safe goal, literally 10 times. So picture what your goals are, multiply it by 10. What is it? That's what we're talking about here. Okay, so if hearing that makes your knees wobble a little bit, I understand. It's okay, just stay with me. I'll explain. All right. Now, you might be thinking, Don, why on earth would I want to adopt goals that are ridiculous? There's like no way on earth that I could achieve that. Okay, here's why. Because inspiring goals make your life, your present life, more engaging. And when your present life is more engaging, you're not waiting 20 years to feel fulfilled, like when you're in retirement. You're able to have excitement right now. You're able to have a fulfilling life right now. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, so how do you do that? For one thing, let's start with forgetting about what's achievable. So again, you got to stay with me here. For now, in this space, achievable isn't relevant. Okay, I'll tell you why. I'm not saying to change your safe goals. Keep your safe goals as they are. What I am saying is, in addition to your safe goals, I want you to add a separate, distinct, parallel goal, and that's going to be your 10x goal. Much, much more fun, and we're going to use it to be able to shift your perspective. Okay, so I'll give you an example about shifting your perspective. Give me just a minute. Thank you. Okay, so here's an example of shifting your perspective in this context. So you don't have to have practiced martial arts ever to know that there's such a thing as the belt color ranking system. So say it's my first day in karate class. I'm brand new. What color belt am I going to have? White, right? And then you may or may not be aware the next color belt up is yellow. And I'm positive that you're aware what the highest level color belt is, the black belt, right? Okay, so even though in my white belt class, my safe goal is the yellow belt, that's not enough for me. And I'm going to engage my RAS and I'm going to say, what needs to happen for me so that I can have a black belt? No, a 5th degree black belt. I'm going to go for it. So the RAS comes back to me, inspires me to take action. So I do things I wouldn't normally do. I start going to workouts outside of my regular class time. I start watching videos of black belts in action, seeing how they move. I'm taking notes. I start relationships with people who are black belts, and I ask them questions. I find out what it's like being one, what it takes to be one, things like that. So achieving your 10x goal, this is what you need to know. Achieving your 10x goal is not the point. The point is getting excited about doing something great while taking action. That's the point. So with that, you now have permission to dream big. So let's go for it. Okay, so what I'm going to show you now, this comes from the work of Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who is a organizational psychologist and author, and his collaborative work with Dan Sullivan, who is a business coach for some of the top CEOs and executives and entrepreneurs in the country. It's one of the best. All right. So I know I just said that you achieving your 10x goal is not the point. It's true. However, I'm still going to keep the possibility open. All right. Why? Because it happens. And why not you? In fact, Bill Gates, he said, most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. So think about it. Be honest with me. At this point, do you have trouble believing that you can achieve your 10x goals? Okay, I understand. Still, think about how much your life has changed in the last 10 years. Think about where you were 10 years ago. Did you ever dream that you would be where you are right now? Okay, so this is my point. This is what I want you to keep open as a possibility. All right. So think about it. You're going to be a different person in 10 years anyway. So why not choose who you're going to be and take action on it? If you don't, well, circumstances might dictate it for you. Other people might dictate it for you. I don't want that to happen. I want you to choose. Now, give you a couple examples. Now, this has to be your goal and nobody else's goal. That's important too. All right. So a couple examples. First of all, very, very common in retirement planning, people say they want to travel in the future. Well, what would 10x look like if you just blow off the limits of how you could travel? Well, first of all, travel in a private jet, right? I mean, unless you really love flying commercial, how wonderful that would be. And how about having access to the highest level of comfort, the best resorts and spas anywhere? And how about this? Bring who you want to share the experience. You know, your family, your friends. No limits to that. Now, another example, not everybody, when they retire, they want to leave work altogether. Some people want to work forever. And that can be a very beautiful thing. It just depends on how you do it. So how would you 10x if you're a business owner? Well, okay, so for example, you could finally hire the team of rock star employees so that you can spend as much time or as little time in the office as you want. because you would be confident that they would have it handled, and they would, right? Now, or you could bring in a business consultant so that you can spend as much time. I'm sorry, bring in a business consultant to find the optimal structure and be able to bring your business to have the highest value when you sell it one day. Or you could say, just I want to work only in the things that are in my wheelhouse, the things I really love doing, and everything else is taken care of. What would that be like if you could do that? So with that in mind, what do you need to do in your life right now? Evaluate what needs to happen in your life so that you one day could become this person, this future self in 10 years, doing 10x, having this wonderful life. Well, it would have to be different, right? One important area would be your relationships. It's been said that the 5 people that you spend the most time with, you are the average of those 5 people. So with that in mind, what kind of people do you want to be around? Do you want to have around you? What kind of people do you need to take out of your life that are toxic, that are holding you back? Those are the questions that are very, very important right now. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so let's put this to action then. Take your 10x goal and reverse engineer it to the present. So whatever it is, make some kind of timeline with milestones. So if you're going to hit 10x in 10 years, what do you need to be at the 5-year interval, 3-year interval, and the 1-year interval? Okay. So when you do that, how would it influence your decision making now? How would it change? How would it change your spending decisions? Less consumption, more investment in yourself and in others? You would evaluate, are you even in the right job right now? How about reevaluating the way that you invest your money? How about reevaluating the way you invest your time? Well, every action that you take in your 1-year list, the things that you have to do now, the changes you have to make now, is a vote for growing into your future self. And that's how you can get encouragement. In fact, it's important for encouragement to monitor your progress. And with 10x, we have to be careful about how we monitor. All right. So it's different. So instead of comparing how you are now to this ideal, this huge ideal, compare yourself to who you used to be 1 year ago. And of course you'll grow because you're taking this action you never had before. And that's going to give you the juice. That's going to give you the impetus to follow through all the way. Okay. Now, when you're living that way, my question is, what kind of life would that be like for you? Wouldn't it be like the most amazing thing that you've ever done? It must be. All right. If our conversation tonight has inspired you and has made you excited and you're ready to take action, I would love to stand with you and help you take those first few steps so that you can get the momentum going. Because of that, I'm offering you a 30-minute complimentary coaching integration session. Really, really easy to schedule. All you have to do is click the QR code here. You'll see a link to my calendar, and then you'll be able to choose a good date and time that work for you. You'll also see a link to my calendar in the chat below as well. Now, if I were to take the main things that we talked about tonight, the ones that I hope that you take with you, not just out of this meeting, but into your life, it would be these. So first, vivid goals, not just any goals, but the goals that really excite you, really turn you on and make you want to take action. So when you take action, that kind of action, it's going to lead to results. And when you have results, again and again, that's going to increase your confidence. And come to think of it, I wish I would have put another arrow to the right of confidence, because if I did, I would have had 2 words: bigger goals. Because when you increase your confidence, you start seeing what you're really capable of. And of course, you're going to want to play a bigger game. And when you're playing a bigger game, it's going to lead to action. And you can see how that cycle works. Also, setting vivid goals, it's not just being able to get inspired, that's important, but also too, it activates that RAS in your brain, which will tell you which actions to take that will drive the best results. Also, a strong purpose versus obstacles, distractions, always wins. And then finally, when you're preparing yourself now to grow into this future self that's going to live your ideal life, when 10 years out, 20 years out, whatever you want it to be, when you're living that way now, you are living a great life. And really, you deserve a great life. And if you're inspired to take action, maybe your friends, family, and colleagues might feel the same way too. And if you feel you know someone that this conversation would bring them value, by all means, give them my phone number. It's area code 805-719-2747. They'll be glad that you did. Well, this concludes our conversation tonight. I'm very happy that you joined us, and I wish you a very good night. Good night.